Welcome back to Hat Talks for Lunch. Many listeners have asked me to share stories from my years at sea. So let me begin at the very beginning. Episode 20 is titled Holystoning and Apprenticeship and is dedicated to the officers and instructors aboard the TS Rajendra, my batchmates, and of course, some of the chief officers and masters I sailed with during my apprenticeship. This episode reflects on two enduring lessons from my early sea career: the dignity of labor and the value of apprenticeship. On the training ship, which was anchored in the middle of Bombay Harbour, we were schooled in typical Indian Navy style. Alongside professional subjects from 0830 to 1500 hours, we learnt naval etiquette, especially the unique naval salute required whenever passing an officer or instructor on deck. Officer-like training also meant proper grooming, regular visits to the ship's barber, understanding uniform codes such as number 8s, number 2s, and 6Bs, and even knowing the purpose of a kamarband. Outside the classroom, we learned practical seamanship, using oversized stages while fellow cadets manned the ropes to build trust, painting with a warp and weft brush strokes without holidays or gaps, using grease guns and cleaning or desludging engine room bilges. Instructors supervised every task to maintain high training standards and often making us repeat jobs until perfection was achieved. Twice a week, holystoning the wooden decks was part of life on the training ship. The 8 tops, which are much like houses in a boarding school, were assigned different areas across the decks, and cadets were divided into 3 teams. One crouched on their haunches along the fore and aft planks of the ship, scrubbing with holystone blocks made of sandstone. A second team who was engaged in sprinkling dry sand ahead of them, which was used as an abrasive, and a third team which handled seawater hoses and long-handled brushes, lubricating the work and washing away the remaining sand to leave the wooden decks sparkling. There was plenty of fun in the exercise: water hoses, flying sand, and good-natured horseplay on deck. We were all young, but without our realizing it at the time, the task was doing something deeper. It scrubbed away our hang-ups, our prejudices, and any discomfort we may have had about manual or menial work. Above all, it taught us to respect the dignity of hard labor. After completing formal training on the training ship, cadets joined shipping companies as apprentices under the Apprenticeship Act for 3 years. The crew called us cadet officers or prentice sahib. Though we were trainee officers, we wore the same uniforms as officers and lived in the officers' quarters. We were often assigned to work with the sarang or bosun, who was the head of the crew, the petty officers, as well as with other seamen. Depending on the type of ships we were apprenticing on, working alongside the bosun taught us how to manage the crew and earn their respect. The kasab showed us how to mix paints properly and keep the stores orderly. The deck fitter or chippy used his carpentry and repair skills to fix pipes, clear clogged drains, grease rollers and pulleys, and taught us how to make and use cement boxes for sealing leaks in older vessels. On oil tankers, we learned from the pumpman how to replace leaking valve gaskets and pump seals and to tackle cargo pipeline leaks both inside and outside the pump room using both clamps or a bandit toolkit. With the seamen, we chipped, we painted, we greased, we worked aloft, alongside, and overside. As classroom knowledge met hands-on experience, we gradually gained the confidence to suggest better and more efficient ways of doing things. Something that our present teachers, the bosun and petty officers, had predicted when we joined up as freshers. They used to say, "First you learn from us. Later, you will tell us how to do it." And so later, when we instructed, it mattered that we worked alongside the crew, led from the front, and showed better results. That was how respect was earned. Our work was supervised by senior cadets and the chief mate, to whom we reported as apprentices. While there was camaraderie with the crew and petty officers, it was not familiarity. For one day, the apprentice Saab would be giving the orders. In the engine room, the fifth engineer was the apprentice equivalent, learning the trade through cleaning and scrubbing and fixing and repairing while simultaneously developing manual skills on the lathe, welding, and gas cutting. In those days, every apprentice training for watchkeeping duty in the engine room or on the bridge also had to get their hands dirty in almost every task. Practical skill mattered because leaders must know how the work is done if they are to earn confidence from those they lead. At sea in those days, apprentices rarely had an assured Sunday off and often worked at least 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Looking back, I believe apprenticeship was perhaps the best preparation for anyone rising through the ranks. It was tough, but thorough. Credit must go to the chief officers, some of whom are listeners, who planned our exposure to every aspect of maritime life, including emergencies, and gave us meaningful leadership opportunities as we became senior cadets. Now that was at sea, and it always stayed with me. When I came ashore and moved into consulting and entrepreneurship, I encountered incompetence at many levels. So I did away with layered titles, managers, assistant managers, and general managers and the like, and flattened the structure to basically just team members and team leaders. Promotions had to be earned through knowledge, capability, and demonstrated performance. Teaching dignity of labor in a conservative workplace can be difficult, but it works when leaders set the example. I made sure every staff member learned to respect the office boys and ladies who cleaned our workspaces and washrooms. Everyone was encouraged to help with any task, whether serving a visitor a glass of water, offering refreshments, or mopping or brooming the floor if anything was spilled. A week before Diwali, each team member drew lots for an office cleaning assignment. Tasks included removing and servicing blinds, cleaning the pantry, keeping the washrooms pleasant, clearing and dusting filing cabinets, and cleaning computers, workstation, and upholstery. We even gave a prize for the best job, which was judged by everyone. The highlight was an annual day dedicated to the office boys, where every team member had to create and present an original gift for them. The experiment was a great success. Years later, the MD's son, my son, reached a crossroad after graduation, and while considering several career options, he was brought into the company as an apprentice and posted to a branch away from the head office where his father worked, so he could learn teamwork. All team members were told that he was a trainee and should be addressed by name. They were collectively responsible for his training under my supervision. After many pavams, sir, and 2 years of hard learning, he had earned his stripes, and the team members began looking up to him for his leadership and decision making, as he had also opened new verticals for the company business. Later, he received an offer from a multinational company, and a year into the MNC company, he called to thank me and say how valuable the apprenticeship had been, even though he had disliked it at the time. Today, he's a successful COO in a 3PL company. I've seen many old families run corporate companies follow the same similar approach. For the heirs and future managers, spend years working across departments until they are ready to hold the reins. So when you have the theoretical knowledge, you have holystoned the decks of life, learnt the practicals, worked with people during your early journey, the apprenticeship is an absolute winner in all professions. As I leave you with thoughts on holystoning away personal hang-ups, getting your hands dirty, and learning the ropes the hard way, please remember to press the like button, share, and subscribe. This is Captain Joe signing off.